Hey, I'm Chef Rachel. This is culinary class on flatbread and different breads. So we're going to do a simple flatbread that has no yeast in it, which is going to be super cool and quick and easy. So first thing, I am going to light this up, and I'm actually going to melt my butter and my milk together. So I throw my butter in there, I'm going to throw my milk in there. So that's about 3 tablespoons of butter and 3/4 of a cup of milk. Okay. In my bowl. While that melts, I'm going to throw 2 cups of flour and my salt. A half teaspoon of salt. I'm going to mix that around. You don't sift the flour or anything. You just want it in there. Okay? You just do nice even flour. Right here I have extra flour. This is called binge flour, or you can call it a number of things. It's just the extra flour that you're going to use to dust the table. Okay? So now my butter is melted and my milk is hot. Now just remember that it is hot. So when you pour it in, it's going to be hot in here in the flour. It's not going to be cooled down yet. You can also use the microwave to melt it. It's real simple either way. I mean, you just want to melt the butter and have the milk hot. Okay? I'm going to pour a little bit in at a time because it is hot, hot, hot. So I'm trying not to burn my hands while I mix this in here. So I like to kind of do a little bit at a time, kind of mix it in, do a little bit more, mix it in. Because you can actually see the steam still coming off the milk and butter. So I also don't wear gloves when I'm doing this because all that's going to do is get stuck to my gloves. And my hands are washed, so it's nice and clean and sanitary. And you could use a mixer for this, but you want to be careful not to over mix the dough, because really all you don't have a leavening agent or a softening agent. So if you over mix this dough, it becomes very, very tough. And you really don't want that. You want a nice soft flatbread that goes with everything. You can put whatever you want on it. I like to put chicken on it. I like to do avocado sandwiches with bacon on it, a nice little egg. Do all kinds of different things, and you'll see once it rests how it comes out nice and soft and pretty. Again, a little bit hot. Let's put the rest of this in here. I'll cool down out there for a second. Now that I've got all the liquid in, I'm going to start kneading it together. Again, I'm just trying to incorporate the flour into the liquid mixture, vice versa. I'm going to start trying to, again, put it together. That's the idea of kneading, is to kind of put it together. Okay, get all of that out there. The more kneading I do, the more gluten I'm going to put in there. Again, it's a little tough if you do it too much, but you want it to get together because I'm going to rest it too, so it's going to come back to life. So I want to make sure I get all these little things off my hands. Get them into the dough. And you guys see how all this combined, the more I knead, okay? And I'm gonna, again, knead for a good little bit and make sure my bowl is nice and cleaned out. Like this is what happens when your bowl gets to the point where you get almost everything out and you can move to your table. Again, you just wanna dust your table with a little bit of flour. Knead right on the table there. And you just want to get it together to the point where it's smooth and it seems to be well kneaded together. If you need a little more flour, you can always take from the side, like that. Should be pretty smooth. like an arm workout. Kneading is good for that. Okay. Just a little more flour. The more flour you add, the tougher it gets as well. Because flour is what's going to dry out that. So I just want to make sure that it gets to a point. It's almost there. See, it's a little cracky, and you can see it's a little soft still. So it's going to spring back at me just a little bit more, and then I'm going to cover it. Okay. A few more of these. You can see I've got that perfect amount of flour where it's not even sticking to the table anymore. So I did the right amount of flour in there. So it's nice and smooth and not sticking to the table. Okay. At this point, we're pretty good. Yeah, see how it's coming back now a little bit more? See how it kind of pushes back at me? So now I'm just going to round this off a little bit, make sure that it's nice and smooth. Smoothish. A little cracky lumpies. And I'm going to cover it. That's it. I'm going to let it rest for a good 10-15 minutes depending on really how it feels when I pull it back out. And then we'll start frying up the flatbreads. Alright, so now we're back with the flatbread. I'm going to dust my plate here, my table here. My flatbread is nice and warm and nice and well rested. And you'll see how soft it is. So nice. So I'm going to cut off a little bit. I don't want to flour everything, just in case it's sticky. Cut off a little bit. Usually I do this in 6s or so, depending on how many flatbreads I want. Okay. And cover it back up just to keep it nice and moist. I always start with rolling it into some sort of circle or some sort of shape that I want it to be in. You could do a square, you can do a circle, you can do whatever you want, but I prefer a circle. And then I just roll it out to about 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch thick. Okay. Make sure it's, and you can do it, you know, like I said, it doesn't have to always be perfect. It's artisanal, you know, call it an artisanal flatbread. Okay. Flour on here. Over a little bit thinner for me. Cooks nice and fast. Okay. And then I keep rolling that out, and I keep rolling and rolling and rolling until I run out of dough. Okay? At this point, I go ahead and light up my fire. I'm using a little bit of oil for this. You can use butter, but it's going to brown faster, so I prefer to use a little bit of either veg or olive oil, any kind of vegetable oil if you will. So I'm just going to use a little bit. We're just kind of pan frying these, so I'm going to do enough to kind of coat the bottom of the pan. See my little burner's bit. So enough to coat the bottom of the pan so it lays nicely in there. And I'm going to let that oil get nice and hot. Keep rolling that. So you can pause it. If I've got any extra flour on my dough, I'm just going to slap it off of there. Not too bad. And then I'm just going to lay it, always lay your flatbread away from you. You can see I put a little more oil than I normally would in there, but that's not bad. Again, it's kind of a deep fry on a flatbread. I'll probably go a little lighter on the oil in the next one. Okay, so that cooks, it's going to cook and it's going to start to make bubbles. Actually, you can see the bubbles in the dough start to form. That means that it's cooking on the inside of the dough. It's starting to raise up. And as it browns on the other side, you'll start to see that as well. It's going to take a little while to brown because that's nice fresh oil in there. Now if I cut this dough, that hole will disappear. But it's kind of like a pita. It's a kind of a cool little easy flatbread that is real nice, self-rising kind of thing. Really airy, really simple. So, as we cook this, so you want to get it a little darker, but there's a nice golden brown on there.
Flatbread, not fat bread. It's flatbread.
I'm gonna let the other side cook so that it's nice and golden brown as well. See, we want to get both sides nice and done, well cooked. A little bit longer there. Look how pretty that is. Once it's done cooking, I'm gonna go ahead. I would put it normally on paper towels or anything like that so it'll absorb the oil off there. I like to hit it with a little salt because I love salt. Just finish it with a little salt. There's your flatbread.